Hey guys, this is Parker, the debt-free entrepreneur, and in this really quick tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use this budget template properly to really grow and accelerate your wealth. Now, these are the two numbers that you'll ever need to know when budgeting, and these are the only two numbers that matter. And it's the total net income, so this is your income after taxes, so whatever your paycheck looks like, that number, and the total expenses that you have monthly. These two numbers, if you learn nothing else, all you need to know is that this total net income is bigger than your expenses. Pretty much a no-brainer, right? Well, you'd be surprised that a lot of people have a higher expense than their actual income. But this is the number one lesson you can learn, is that if your income is greater than your expenses, you will become wealthy. So this is a really quick calculator. Please do not get bogged down. Do not feel intimidated by all that you see here. You can see if I scroll a little bit, there's a little bit more here, but we're going to quickly go through how to use this. If at any time you want to schedule a free consultation with me to review your budget, you can do so by clicking on this link. When you click on that link, it'll probably send you to a redirect. It may say redirect to calendly.com, Parker, free 30-minute budget consult up here. Just pick a time, choose that time with me, and go through there. Let's say 9:30 a.m., confirm, put your first name, your email address, your name and email, and the best phone number that I can reach you at so that we can talk and review your budget over the phone. So that's how you kind of do that. But let's jump back to it. First thing you want to do is put in your income. You may have various sources of income. So you're going to put in your income. I've kind of set this all up essentially to be around a $60,000 per household income per year. If you have less, obviously you put in your actual income sources here, and you can put in the various ones, and it'll automatically calculate it. For example, if I put in 1,000, you see that it automatically calculated 4,000. The difference is 184. But for most people, we're going to put that in. So really simply put in your income sources, and you'll see kind of it's automatically calculated that you make on average $5,000 per month, and per year that's about a $60,000 after taxes. So now you want to actually go into your expenses and see exactly what your expenses are. But to explain this tool a little bit, you've got your spend percentage here, the totals, and the recommended spend percentage. So this recommended spend percentage is really important. So for example, 25 to 35% of your expenditures should be spent on housing. That's things like mortgage and rent, property taxes, homeowners insurance, homeowners fees, repairs to the home. And there's a little rule here. On average, you should budget $1 or put away $1 per year per square foot to save. So if you have a 1,500 square foot home, $150 a month should cover you. And then furniture, of course. Putting away $100 for furniture is a good idea. So whenever you update these totals, you'll see that this is in the yellow. The total here is actually summed up from these account columns here. And you'll see that it's in the yellow. That means that it's actually not in the recommended spend. Yellow means it's actually below. But if I put in something like $700, you'll see that it actually updates and is now at 26%, which is definitely within that recommended percentage. However, don't feel bad if any of your spend percentages are low. That's actually a good thing, at least for most elements of this. And you can actually use that to pay down your debt if you have debts, or invest if you'd like to invest. So run through this really quick. These are utilities. Everything's in here. Electricity, on average, this is probably what people are paying on this kind of budget. Gas, water, trash, cable, cell phone, Netflix, that kind of stuff. So put in whatever you spend per month on these, and do the same thing for food. Now, food is probably the biggest category where people go way over. And it's probably because people are in this restaurant industry right here. People spend a lot of money at restaurants. It's not uncommon for people to spend, well, maybe not that much, but $300 a month on a restaurant. You can see how that jumps up really quick with groceries and everything like this. If you'd like, you can click on this link and check out emails. They do a really fantastic job, and it's really cheap. I think it's $5 a month to basically have them send you shopping lists, everything you need to shop, all the recipes, how to put the meals together. It's really, really nice. And then any miscellaneous food and drink, make sure you put any coffees you stop for or anything like that. I want to just show you really quickly how coffees can add up. Let's say your average coffee costs $2.50 per coffee, and let's say you go to work 20 times a day and stop on your way to get coffee. It's $50 a month that you're spending on coffee alone. So kind of think about that in advance. Just $2.50 20 times. So that's a way in which you can actually save a lot of money, is just making sure that you actually see where your money's going. So the other category here is transportation. You got to get to work, right? Unless you have really good public transport in a major city, maybe there's bus, subways, whatever it is, you're obviously going to need a car. You're going to need to pay for fuel, insurance, repairs, taxes, title, license, everything. And this number is calculated here. Fuel. You'd like to know in advance in a month how much you can spend on fuel. Well, you need to know the kind of calculation. Basically, the calculation is the average miles driven per year divided by 52 weeks, which are the number of weeks in a year, divided by the fuel mileage of your car, multiplied by the cost of fuel. So you'll see that in here. If on average you put 15,000 miles on your car, divide that by 52 weeks, divided by 30, which is the fuel average miles per gallon, multiplied by the actual cost of gas. Now this is obviously rising. 375 that's already outdated. Then you're going to multiply that by 4 weeks in a month. So really simply, that's jump out of there. You can use that formula to calculate your fuel cost per month. And again, it's calculated here, and automatically your spend percentage is displayed. If it's in the yellow, that's great. If it's in the red, like watch, I'll throw in here just a tax, title, and license, just to kind of throw it way over. Well, that's still not throwing it over. So we'll see here 700. So that's way in the red. So 20% of your actual income, this number here, is spent on transportation costs. So you have to look at that and see those hidden little tripwires that are holding you back and holding your wealth back. So you can see 10 to 15% is totally okay. 20%, we got to figure something out here. This is a problem. And really, to figure out the problems, we have a couple of things. Sometimes you can't get around, maybe you need 2 cars. Maybe it's something like that, and that's fine. You just kind of have to deal with it. But maybe in this spend percentage, you can have a little bit less. So there's a few things you can do, but really to live within your means, you have to make sure that you're actually budgeting these things, but you're actually living within your means. So most people can absolutely live within these percentages. In fact, if you can't live within these percentages, click on this link and schedule a time with me and let's talk. And again, that's a free consultation. So here's the really important thing where most people get really bogged down, and this is their biggest problem, is debt. There's a lot of reasons, but debt is actually on the rise and has been in the last 15 years. So on average, Americans are keeping more and more debt, which is really holding them back from creating wealth and passing on wealth to their children, families, and communities. So on average, hopefully, ideally, the goal is 0% debt, to be totally debt-free. That's what I do with everything. Every investment I make, every business I build is done with absolutely 0 debt. I don't borrow money for anything. So I don't borrow money for anything. Very, very important. But that doesn't mean you haven't had debt. And I've had debt before. And here's how you destroy debt. So you want to list out your debts. And so usually most people's debts fall into school loans, car payment loans, credit cards, and that's pretty much it. Credit cards, car payments, and school loans. And so you want to list these out and what you pay monthly on these. So it's really simple. List them out and see where your debt percentage lies. Now, then you want to actually, if you can do it on the side or a different piece of paper, you can actually list out your loans from smallest to largest. And at the end of the month, when you have an actual difference, this difference here, 984 with this example budget, that is the money you want to take and basically write a check at the end of the month for the smallest loan you have. The reason for that is you basically work your way through. Let's say you had a credit card loan of $200 or something like that, and you had another credit card of $950 or something. You can see that debt is really bad in this case. In fact, you have a difference of minus 165. So we can kind of deal with how to handle that. So actually, our expenses are higher than our net income, which is a definite issue. So we have to find room in the budget somewhere, and there's one of 2 ways to do it. You need to find room in the budget to actually make up this difference and start attacking this debt with a vengeance. So one of the 2 ways is to find room in the budget. You can decrease your living costs. You can decrease your utilities somehow. Maybe you don't need a cable. Maybe you don't need a cell phone. Take those out of your budget. We need to find $165 in one of these columns somewhere. For most people, it's probably going to be in the not in the medical health, saving and investment. If you have debt whatsoever, you should not be saving certainly $500 a month. So that's a place to find it. The other solution is to add another income source. Pick up a spare time job. If you can add another $1,000 to your account every month just from a side job or a side work or mowing lawns, delivering pizzas, whatever it is, Next thing you know, this money goes up, and we have money to actually put towards attacking debt. So I'm going to put this back down to 0 and show you again. Again, this is the big problem, debt. So you want to list out your loans from smallest to largest, and then with the remaining difference at the end of the month, attack it. So for example, if at the end of the month I had an additional $1,000, let's say on average, I'd want to write a check and be debt free from this credit card and get rid of it. So that the next month it looks like a 0. And the next month I have another $1,000. And okay, let's say, okay, I want to get rid of that one. So that one's gone. Or that was the biggest one. I would have gotten rid of these first. But you can see where after a while, you don't need that extra job. You don't need to pick up that extra income. You can increase your quality of life because you have a difference of X amount per month. So, and then you can start saving again, and it's really easy. So once you delete your debt, let's get rid of all of these debts. And $375 was just an obscure number that you saw. You saw it in there really quick. $375 was an obscure number, but that is the average car payment for a used car. And so that's really, really high. And many car owners are now taking out 7-year car loans, which is totally crazy because people are taking on more and more debt, which is a problem. So get rid of it. Get rid of the car loan. I understand if you have one, but you have to look around and don't judge yourself by others. Judge yourself only with yourself. How well are you doing? Don't look at someone's fancy car and say, wow, they're doing really well because they drive a BMW or a Lexus. Oftentimes, more than not, they're paying a car payment, which means they have debt, which means they're not doing that well. One common thing about rich people is that they don't really have debt. They don't borrow money. They have money because they have invested well. They understand this very simple principle that this number must be greater than this number. And if not, you will be poor. If true, you will be wealthy. So after a series of months, you can get rid of that. And if you still have questions around this, again, kind of set up a free consultation session with me, and I'd love to help you out with that. So obviously, we want to be in the yellow. We want to be at 0 right there. And then saving and investing. And you'll kind of see, on average, you want to be saving for retirement. You want to have an emergency fund. At a minimum, while you're killing debt, you want to have an emergency fund of $1,000. So if something goes wrong, car breaks, whatever it is, you need to get to work, you need to fix the car, $1,000 will usually get you out. Once you've killed all of your debt, you can build up your emergency fund to 3 to 6 months. What this does is increases your time horizon, meaning 3 to 6 months kind of gives you a 3 to 6 month emergency fund would probably be 3 to 6 times this number here. So this 3,000 numbers, I would multiply that by 3 to have a 3-month emergency cash reserve. So that if I lost my job, I'd have 3 months of living at this exact same quality of life without actually having to sacrifice any quality of life. I've had 3 months to find a good job to replace my income. Maybe I even pick up a part-time to kind of extend that runway a little bit. So that's really, really important. Eventually, you want to build up your emergency fund after you've paid off all of your debts to a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. And then you want to be investing. You want to be saving for your kids' college fund and everything. Again, I would boost these numbers, and you'll see that after a while, you can even boost these. This is the one number I allow your spend percentage to be well over 10%, because once you have no debt, you have no choice but to invest your money. So one of the other categories is clothing. You're going to need clothing, and this is okay. I think a lot of people get hung up. I know for me, the first time I was budgeting with my wife, we sat down, and I used to get stressed over every single little expenditure. And if she spent money on clothes, I was like, why are you spending money on clothes? It's like, we need them. But now we get to the point where we're actually really quite okay with each other spending money. And in fact, I used to get stressed out by every single thing. I was the saver and she was the spender, and it was really simple. I would just get angry at any time she would spend money. And I'd say, why are you spending money? And she'd say, well, we have to. But now we have everything budgeted to the point where we say, look, it's in my personal budget. It's in my recreation budget. Or it's in the clothing budget. And I go, okay, that makes sense. Those are living within the percentages we should be living within. So definitely clothing is in there. Medical health. This is where a lot of people have another problem with it. You have to make this work in a certain number of ways. You're going to need health insurance. You're going to need disability insurance. If you don't have disability insurance, I highly recommend you get it. 1 in 8 Americans will become disabled at some point in their careers or at some point in their life. And if you become disabled or unable to work, guess what? Your total net income goes totally down. So that is a bad idea to not have disability insurance. Check with your existing employer if you have health insurance with your employer, and make sure you have disability insurance. If not, you definitely want to get it. Per person, it could be as little as $30 a person, sometimes as little as $15 a person per month. So it's just a no-brainer to get it. Doctor's bills and co-pays, definitely want to have some money set aside in there, and then medicines, $50. So with personal care, takes us to our next budget. Personal care, hair care, obviously got to look good. It's in the budget. Put it in there. Things like school supplies, term life insurance. I cannot recommend enough the term life insurance to actually get term life insurance. What this means is it's a very, very low cost. On average, it can, depending on your age and conditions, it can average anywhere from $15 a month to $50 a month per person. Now, what this means is term life insurance. You're basically going to want to buy 10 times as much as you currently make. So for example, if you make $60,000 a year, you're going to want to buy $600,000 worth of term life insurance. So what that means is that if you die, term life insurance will pay $60,000 a year, which will basically allow your loved ones to continue on the quality of life. So instead, if you don't have term and life insurance, it's very cheap, and it's kind of a disaster insurance. So if you die, your loved ones will still be able to live the quality of life that you dream for them. Other things like personal care, alimony, childcare, subscriptions, pet supplies, toiletries, gifts, everything goes in here. And again, 5 to 10% in this area should be somewhere in there. If it doesn't work, again, click here and let's schedule a session and we can go through it together and make these numbers work. And again, you should always have room for fun. Recreation is just really important. It's about happiness. It's about developing a life where you're not worried, you're less stressed about money, and at the same time, you have to have a little fun. So have a fun money category. Have a vacation category if you like. If you don't take vacations or anything like that, that's fine. But if you want to take vacations, $200 a month, that's a $2,400 vacation per year. You may just go more locally, go on a camping trip. You can add to your fund money, no locations, and then other. And then obviously a really important element, I think, is charity. Now, 10 to 15% of your net income can go to charity. Some say church, some say not-for-profits. And this is a really recommended strategy. You will be amazed at how much giving you can do, especially when you eliminate your debts. And the more you give, the more you get. It's absolutely true. So when you look at it, it's fairly simple, fairly straightforward. Fill in your numbers. And I recommend that you do this at least once a month so that you know ahead of time. One big recommendation is to use the cash system to automate just about everything that actually gets auto-deducted. You can put, electricity and gas. But for things like food, which a lot of people have trouble with, take that cash out at the beginning of the month out of the bank account and put it in an envelope and write on that envelope food. And basically, that is all the cash that you need, $650, to get through the month. You cannot spend a dime more. So if you go to a restaurant, you got to pay with that envelope, that cash. And it's so much harder to let go of that cash. People will not go to restaurants as much if they're actually just using cash instead of a debit card or a credit card. So that's one system I recommend. If you'd like to figure out some other systems that I recommend, again, please click on this link here and schedule a time with me. It's absolutely. And if you have questions at all, please just click on this link and I'd love to go through them with you. Thanks for your time and have a wonderful day. I wish you wealth, prosperity, happiness, and a life full of joy.